Hello there, and welcome back to The Spread, NESN.com's football picks podcast. I am NESN.com's Michael, joined as always by my friends, my co-workers, colleagues.
Football picking, what are you saying, week one?
Prognosticators.
My pigskin prognosticators,
Pigskin, yeah.
my football picking friends, NESN.com's Ricky Doyle, and NESN.com's Andre Kachaturian. Gentlemen, how are we?
Good, we're doing excellent. This is Andre Kachaturian.
Yeah,
I have to identify my voice. You know we can
good
see
spread
ourselves,
downstairs, guys.
Good spread
We're in the
downstairs.
office right now. Good spread downstairs.
Good spread. We heard there's a big spread in the NESN break room.
Yeah.
Instead of
International Food Day,
yes,
is that what it's
correct.
called?
Yeah. Instead of devouring that spread, we're up here doing the spread.
Oh.
Where we will make our weekly picks against the spread, hence the name for the NFL. For those just joining us for the first time, what took you so long? Also, we'll go through the top 3 games of the weekend. We'll do locks and upsets, and then we'll get out of here. As always, you can get our weekly NFL picks, the entire slate, in written form at NESN.com. That will be up at some point on a Thursday. As always, we get our lines and trends from oddshark.com, so just want to give a big shout out to Oddshark off the top. Thank you guys, you're the best. And before we get into our week 3 picks, let's look back at last week and see how we did. Andre.
Yeah, there was actually 5. I called this before the show, Mike. We were talking off camera. A backdoor cover, but you said it doesn't really count as a backdoor cover. But what I meant to say
Not
is,
every cover is a backdoor cover.
yeah, but like it was a cover in which the team that was the underdog lost, but they covered. There was 5 of those this week.
That's just covering. It's
absolutely ruined my week.
A straight cover.
He's like he's listening off all the
But it's
backdoor
stupid.
covers. He's like the Chiefs.
Like I
Look at
picked the right
Chiefs tonight.
winners. I picked the right winners. I picked the Packers to win.
How long have we been doing this?
I know, but
This
it's
is
like
a foreign concept.
Yeah,
is it?
it's literally the name of the show is the
So
spread.
what, you just want to do them straight up then?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
That's a Terry
It's the name of the
Bradshaw
game.
style.
It's the name of the game.
We're better than Terry Bradshaw. Anyway, the standings. Mike Cole, you went 9-6 this week. Congratulations.
Thank
You made
you.
up 2 games on me and Ricky. We went 7-8. And now you're tied in first place with
More
44
data.
wins.
More data. The numbers, the machine is rolling
Yeah.
now.
Ricky, 43 wins. You're in second place or last place, however way you want to call it. But I will say
For a
this:
second.
in our spread picks, I went 2-1 last week.
I was gonna say I have a quick update of that. Ricky is leading the way in that. So Ricky coming up in the rear for the overall, but on the spread he is 11-7. Andre, you're 9-9. I'm 10-8.
How are your locks?
Ricky's
Gameplay.
locks continue to be anything but locks. He is
Fade 'em.
0-5-1 and 1-5 with his upsets.
Wow.
I don't expect anything to change this week either, to be
Who did
honest.
you take as your lock last week?
Last week, I think it was the Vikings.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, that was stupid. They won. They
Yeah,
won by
nah.
10. Half a point covered. Cardinals? Really? Really?
the name of the
That's
game.
yeah,
It's
that's why
heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's the way it
But they
goes.
won by 10.
Upset, I don't know who the hell I took for an upset.
You took. I don't know.
I don't know. We're on to week 7.
Yeah,
Week 7.
Whatever. All right.
On to week 7.
So yeah, we'll go through the 3 best games of the week. Decent decent slate this week, I guess. Not bad. I like all 3 of these games we picked. I guess.
I like 2 of them.
Yeah, I'm not
especially.
crazy
I like
about-
the interconference games.
Yeah, me too. I'm not crazy about. Well, so we'll start with this one. I'm not crazy about this one. The Carolina Panthers, coming off of they lost, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, to the Washington.
To the Washington Redskins. The Redskins are a team that I can't figure out, and just like the Panthers.
That holds true for the past decade too.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Yep.
hate picking Redskins
Yep,
games more
me
than
too.
anything.
Unless it's prime time, you know you go against
Yeah,
them.
which they get the Chiefs in primetime this weekend, so that'll be something to keep an eye on. We're not talking about that game, though. We're talking the Panthers at the Eagles. Eagles 4.5-point favorites. This game's a Sunday afternoon kick in Philadelphia. Total currently set at 45.5 points. 57% of the slips right now on the Eagles at 4.5-point favorites. Ricky, where are you on this one?
All right, so I hemmed and hawed here a little bit.
This is a tough one.
I'm gonna lean towards the home team. Take the Eagles. Usually pretty solid bet at home. 15-4 straight up under Doug Peterson. Panthers have had some issues on the road too. Lost 4 straight road games. I just look back to the Panthers game last week against the Redskins. Though in that game, they kind of, I guess, really lost the battle at the line of scrimmage. And if there's any team that I trust to win the battle at the line of scrimmage, it's the Eagles. So I just see a lot of the same issues this week for the Panthers. Cam Newton made some bad reads on some option plays last week. He does that again this week. I mean, they're going to be screwed. You turn them into a you force him to throw. We've seen what Cam Newton is when he has to be a traditional quarterback, and I just see them having a hard time going up against this Eagles defense, which from a personnel standpoint, I think it's still among the league's among the league's elite. So I'll take the Eagles. I'm not crazy about the 4.5-point spread, but I'll take the home team.
If there's any team that's going to be able to defend that option too, it's going to be the Eagles.
Oh yeah, I mean they've seen it as much as anybody.
They're running in practice.
You guys, these two teams met around the same time last year, Panthers and Eagles, and in that game, the Panthers were never able to establish a good running game. They only had 16 yards rushing on 5 carries from their running backs. Cam Newton obviously ran for a lot more. But I think the similar things going to happen this year. You talked about the Eagles' front seven. They're going to be able to stop the run. Panthers are a good running team, but I think the Eagles are going to be able to stop them. They're second best in yards, rushing yards allowed per game. So I think Cam Newton, in that game last year, Cam Newton threw the ball 52 times, career high.
That's insane.
1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. When Cam Newton throws the ball 39 times or more in his career, he's 3-12-1. I like Cam Newton this year. He's doing great. It's probably his best statistical year, 68%, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But you don't want to have him throwing the ball that many times, especially against the Eagles. Carson Wentz only 1 interception this year. He seems to be improving after missing that time from injury. I like the Eagles.
We've gone to the Pro Football Focus a lot this year.
Yes, we have. A lot of good information.
It's a resource we've taken advantage of. I'm all in it on this one. Philadelphia has the #1 pass rush in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus. That's an important number. Also from PFF, Cam Newton, 24.8 passer rating went under pressure this season. They're going to put the pressure on. Kind of speaks to what Ricky said about the line of scrimmage and everything. I think they're better on both sides of the ball when it comes to that. Offensively, not necessarily sure where Philly. They're tough to kind of get a hold on because they've had so many injuries now, losing Jay Ajayi for the season as well. Points may be hard to come by, which makes you maybe lean toward the underdog. But I'm going to take Philly here just because I don't necessarily trust Carolina on the road. One thing though, if I'm the Panthers, this is one thing I just want to put out there. It's just for more information for the listeners. Philly hasn't had a whole lot of they haven't had to take on pass-catching running backs this year. I thought this was interesting. 3 of their opponents, Tampa Bay, Tennessee, and Atlanta, ranked in the bottom 10 of running back targets. Carolina ranks 14th, but they have McCaffrey. So, if McCaffrey has a huge game, that's how they win this game. But I think, Philly probably does a good job of neutralizing that as well.
To that end, too, I mean, there were some plays last week against the Giants where they were.
Well, I meant to mention that too. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so there is something there to suggest that
I think Barkley
when they do go up against the running back, like
99 yards receiving last week. So
and just really, that's the thing about the Eagles. If there's one concern I have about them, it's that secondary, but more specifically tackling in the secondary, because they were beat by some screen plays in that Thursday night game, some short passes. So, yeah, you get it to a guy like McCaffrey in space. Maybe that's where you get your offense if you're the Panthers.
You got to think that they're going to do all they can to take that away, and I think if you do that, Carolina becomes somewhat one-dimensional. And again,
McCaffrey's been quiet the last couple games.
Yeah, and I think teams are starting to game plan around him, obviously. And I think you look at that secondary; it's not great for Philly, but who necessarily is going to make them pay in that Carolina receiving core?
It's a weird thing if you're the Panthers. I feel like you have to kind of stay true to your identity to an extent. Like if it's early in the game and you're not running the ball at all against this Eagles front seven, it's then you got to get creative in some way.
Maybe you'll see a fake punt.
Maybe. Maybe you will.
A little pooch punt.
Yeah.
It would help too if DJ Moore didn't cough up the football 100 times.
Kidding.
So
Eagles are also first in time of possession.
Yeah. I had one more point to make about this one.
That's nice.
Add that in there. It's a good stat.
It's good to have the football more than not having it, I guess.
Yeah.
I totally forgot I was going to say. Wow. What a brain fart. I had one more point to make, but who cares?
He cut you in line.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, slip that in there.
What else is new? That's basically what it was. That happened. I just totally zonked out. All right. Are we good on that one?
Yeah, that
good there. All right.
Eagles.
These next 2 games I'm more excited about.
Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and say this is the best game of the week right here. Also in the 1 o'clock time slot, the New England Patriots coming off that wild last-second win against the Kansas City Chiefs. Head on the road to take on a Bears team that went to overtime last week, had all the chances in the world to win that game, couldn't do it, lose on the road to Miami. The Patriots come into this one as road favorites. 3.5-point favorites as it stands right now. I think this opened at 2.5. It got bumped up to 3.5 already. 80% of the bets, is when I checked this morning, were on the Patriots, so that line's already moving. Maybe it'll move a little bit more. Weather, for what it's worth, mid-40s with a little bit of wind, so it's not going to be the greatest of days, but nothing too major for either teams. Like I said, Patriots 3.5-point favorites here. Andre, where are you on this?
You guys are going to keep laughing at me every time I bring up this stat, but again, it holds true. Quarterbacks with fewer than 20 games of experience are now 0-10 since the start of 2016 against the Patriots with 10 touchdowns, 11 picks. Pat Mahomes struggled in that first half. He came back in the second half, but I can make an argument that the Patriots kind of shot themselves in the leg in that second half, giving up that big 97-yard kickoff return, short fields. Tom Brady fumbled the ball, another short field. They gave up these 2 big plays that ended up in touchdowns. I don't see Mitch Trubisky, who's been good. I don't see him doing those same things Pat Mahomes was doing in the second half last week. I'm taking the Patriots. Also, the biggest X factor, what did I say last week was going to be? Sony Michel, huge game last week. 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. The Patriots won the time of possession battle, 36-24 minutes last week. I think Michel will be able to continue to run again, eat the clock. He's averaging, nearly 5 yards per carry in his 4 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. He's the Patriots' sneakiest weapon. He's a sneaky weapon the Patriots have that nobody's talking about. And of course, Patriots, we all know about their other weapons. I think the Patriots are going to run away with this one. It's a shame because Mitch Trubisky, this is his 18th start. If this game was later in the season, I wouldn't have been able to use this stat.
Chiefs covered in that game this past week, right?
Yes.
He doesn't know.
But they won.
What was the spread in that game? 3.5, right?
But
kind of similar.
Pat Mahomes is better at quarterback than Mitch Trubisky. And the Patriots shot themselves in the leg by giving up those big plays, kickoff return, Brady fumbled the ball.
The leg, right in the knee. Shot themselves right in the knee.
Leg.
All right. I'm leaning towards the Bears in this one. I love the Bears as a home underdog.
Dude, can I just interject? I think the Bears might win this game outright.
Go ahead then.
No, go ahead.
No, I could see that happening as well. And I mean, you talk about Sony Michel, and he could have an impact in this game. The Bears' run defense is pretty good. I mean, Hicks,
average.
You talk about
average.
The Pro Football Focus.
Average.
What?
I'd say they're good.
They're not average.
Better than average, but
they're elite.
They're not Chiefs bad, but they're not like.
They're the best run defense in football.
Well, New Orleans.
We mentioned the Pro Football Focus that we've been leaning on earlier. They had a good stat this week, I think, about it. Hakeem Hicks and his run stop percentage, the highest of any interior defensive lineman through 6 weeks since they started keeping track of that in 2006. And obviously the Khalil Mack factor, as good as he's been, a little banged up.
Ankle injury.
If you can get some pressure on Brady, we've seen in the past that
he hasn't been pressured this year.
Because teams aren't really bringing pressure this year. I mean, there's not. I think he's faced, as few blitzes as any quarterback in the NFL. I think Aaron Rodgers is up there as well.
Well, why take away that space? It doesn't make sense to blitz them this year, just with the issues they've had on offense. They're getting there, I think, and now teams are going to have to adjust. But there hasn't been a whole lot of prerogative to blitz them when guys can't get open.
Aside from the problems I think Chicago can create defensively for the Patriots, I'm more leaning towards the offense too. I think they can cause a lot of problems offensively for them. You know who's calling the plays in Chicago? Matt Nagy, guy who for the Chiefs last year as their offensive coordinator caused a whole world of problems in Week 1. I look at them as sort of like I don't want to say a poor man's Chiefs, but they have like these weird weapons.
Taylor Gabriel is like a
Taylor Gabriel,
poor man's Tyreek Hill.
Tariq Cohen, a guy who back-to-back weeks has had 7 receptions for 90 receiving yards. Only 2 other running backs have done that since 2000, LaDainian Tomlinson and David Johnson. I just think this team can get creative offensively, get the ball in space. Still New England. I mean, nothing suggested from that win over over Kansas City that they've improved on the defensive side of the ball. If anything, they looked worse. Still feel like they're slow. I mean, anybody's going to look slow when Tyreek Hill's burning you up the sideline.
That was incredible, that touchdown he scored.
Talk about turning it on.
Yeah.
Where's Tyreek Hill in this game? He's not playing in this game.
Tariq Cohen.
This is your trade deadline acquisition.
This playmaker.
Oh, you keep talking about Tariq Cohen. You keep talking about the Bears' rush defense on Pro Football Focus. Patriots are 3rd in that same stat. 3rd is bad? Is 3rd bad? It's 3rd bad. Look at the running backs the Bears have placed. Peyton Barber. Ooh. Arizona, whoever the hell they have. Seattle, whoever the hell they have.
David Johnson.
This is 2018. David Johnson's not the same guy.
What run offenses have the Patriots stifled this year? Who's
My
the
point is, the
who's
Bears'
Walter
rush
Payton
defense
that
isn't
they're-
as amazing
they're
as their
slowing down.
Pro Football Focus rating says.
All right, well then you
Back to the other
can't.
point.
Then you
I
can
like
never
getting
bring
points.
up your pro football. You pick and choose wherever you want.
I'm
And
looking
it's-
at the actual number that they
What, that
they're
they
in the
allow,
middle of the pack.
Teams don't even rush the ball against them. 35% of opponents are rushing the ball 35% of plays against them this season. That's the 5th fewest in the NFL. They're allowing 3.9 yards
One
per
less
carry.
fewer game than everybody else. They had a bye week.
Average doesn't account into that, dummy.
Okay, continue.
Oh, you dummy.
Continue.
They're
That was
allowing,
dumb.
They're
I'm
allowing
sorry, that was
3.9
dumb.
yards per carry. That's 8th in the NFL. As you mentioned, Pro Football Focus has them as the #1 run defense. You know what New England does? They target the running back out of the backfield with passes more than any other team in the league. They have the highest amount of running back targets passing-wise in the entire league. The Bears have allowed just 8 receptions on 18 targets to running backs this season for 128 yards. That's 3rd in the NFL. And they've allowed, a league-low 53 fantasy points to running backs, which doesn't affect. It's just a way to measure. You know
That's
what I
a
mean?
quarter for James White. It seems like.
Right, and that's
feed
again,
that guy
like I
Miami.
hate. It sounds so dorky to use fantasy, but it's just like it's a benchmark to say that they're not giving up production either on the ground or through the air running backs. Also, here's something I like. Home underdogs this season, 28-8 against the spread, so I like that I'm getting points here at home. And I also I think Chicago finds a way to build a first half lead here. The Bears' first half defense is elite. They have the best first half defense in the NFL, allowing 5.4 points per game in the first half this season, or points per half, whatever you want to call it. They're second best at home. They're allowing 3 points per first half at home this season. Only Jacksonville somehow allowing 2 points.
Against Miami, Tampa Bay, Arizona. Nice.
The New England Patriots, Jacksonville. Did you know about the same idea? This is like the same kind of game.
Yeah, that was week 2.
So the Patriots on the road this year have scored 6 first half points in 2 games.
It was a 96-degree game. It was very hot.
Against an elite defense. It's another point. It's worth noting. This is
all I'm
again,
saying.
You could sit here and say that they don't have a Tyreek Hill, that they don't have a Kareem Hunt, that they don't have a Pat Mahomes even. But for Christ's sakes, the Chiefs had nothing even close to even a banged up Khalil Mack. The Chiefs have nothing close to anything else on that Bears defense. And this game is in Chicago.
It is. I'm just saying, look at the Bears' success in context. Miami, Tampa, Arizona.
Well,
and
Jesus
then,
Christ, we can go back for the last 15 years and look at the Patriots' success in
of course,
context.
but they've been done it for 15 years, not
Right.
over 3
Okay.
weeks.
But all right, then fine. Then what is? I'm sure 2004 will have a lot of bearing on this game.
Nah, that's not what I'm saying. What?
Well,
this
you
is
said
the 1985 Super Bowl rematch, by the way.
it's a revenge game for the Patriots.
Revenge games. They're just waiting
Do it for the fridge.
The Bears also take care of the football. +6 turnover differential. 3rd in the NFL. That's a lot like Kansas City as well. I like that. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Average ticket price.
Poor man's Chiefs.
Cheapest ticket in this
better
game
defense.
is $319 at Soldier Field.
That's insane. Wow. All right.
Mark DeBenedetto will be there, Nesson.com producer for Nesson.com coverage.
He's going?
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're sending him out there because television isn't sending anyone, so he's going.
Moving on. I got nothing to add. New Orleans Saints. This is actually I like this game.
That was a nice heated debate. It was good.
Yeah, this is a nifty little
I
one.
really like this game.
I'm glad that this is a 4 o'clock game too. They put this one at 4:05 p.m. The New Orleans Saints go on the road. Saints coming off a bye to take on the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens shellacked the Tennessee Titans last week, and as a result, the Ravens are 2.5-point favorites to start this. Let's see, the public right now coming in on New Orleans 68%, so more than 2/3 of the bets on the Saints as road underdogs. Weather, I think it's going to be pretty windy. I think if I saw somewhere close to 20-mile-per-hour breeze. Is that a lot? Is 20 miles per hour a lot? I don't know.
It seems like a decent.
Seems like the
we were
softball.
dealing with
Yeah.
that in a softball game last night. The ball was dancing all
No.
over the place.
It was windy last night, yeah.
You were talking arc. That thing was like going over the backstop.
So that's just something to keep in mind as well. Ricky, what do you like in this one?
The Ravens they're another tough team to
Yeah,
try to
that's
figure
true,
out
yeah.
because I mean you take out that Bengals game and their defense allowed 8.6 points per game in the other 5.
And they still managed to lose one of those games to the
But
Browns.
well, the thing and then the catch here
The
is
Browns
that
game is really throwing me off with it.
it's including the Bills who had the combination
that
of
too,
Nathan
yeah.
Peterman and Josh Allen. The Broncos, who had Case Keenum.
Yeah, that's true.
The Steelers, I'll give you that one. The Browns, Baker Mayfield. And then the Titans, Marcus Mariota, in an offense that is just in shambles. I don't know what the hell happened to that offensive line because it was like ridiculously good last year, but now it's just all over the place this year. So I don't know. I just look at some of the Ravens' numbers, and specifically as it relates to sacks, 26 sacks. The sack percentage, I believe, is the best in the NFL.
They had 11 sacks
there. But 17 of those came in 2 games versus the Bills and Titans.
I didn't mean to undercut your point there.
Well, what was that?
I was just saying they had 11 sacks last week.
Yeah. 11 sacks, and then 6 again in week 1 against the Bills. That's 17 of 26 sacks against the 2 teams with the worst opponent sack percentage. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg thing there. Obviously, those numbers are skewed by the fact that the Ravens are sacking you like crazy. But I tend to lean towards those teams having garbage offensive lines, helping out the defense a little bit. I don't see that happening in this game. I think the Saints are going to be a lot more efficient with the football. Drew Brees hasn't thrown a pick this year, and the Ravens, for as good as they've been defensively, haven't really been that ball-hawking team that we're sometimes accustomed to seeing from them. So I just think the Ravens get a much more difficult time this week applying pressure on Brees. And when they do, when New Orleans does face pressure, Drew Brees owns a 138.3 passer rating against blitzes this season. That's second behind Aaron Rodgers. So they handle it well. I like getting the points in this game because I'm still trying to figure out who the Ravens are. Whereas the Saints, I think I got a pretty good idea that now that their defense is coming into their own, are among the NFC's best teams.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ricky. I'm going with the Saints. Sometimes you just have to look at these games and just simplify it. Just simplify it like the last game simplified. It's Tom Brady versus Mitch Trubisky. This game you have Drew Brees, who's completing nearly 80% of his passes this year against Joe Flacco. And the Saints are getting points. Give me the Saints. Just keep it simple like that. Think of it that way. Sometimes you just got to simplify it. Ravens are getting 11 sacks. Everything you said, Ricky, I agree with you. And the Saints' pass defense, very inflated because of 2 games. The Week 1 game against Ryan Fitzpatrick, which was way back in Week 1. We can toss that out of our sample size. We should. And Week 3 against Matt Ryan, that offense is explosive. Last 2 games have allowed fewer than 250 passing yards.
Just throw out the games that don't go in your argument. I love it.
What are you talking about?
I love your logic. Just throw out the games that don't prove your point.
Yeah, because you have to throw those out. Last 2 games. All right, and then, hold on, I'm not done yet.
Scoop in the trash. I'm with you. I like it.
Okay, we talked about best rush defense. You think it was the Bears. I think it's the Saints. They've only allowed 3.1 rushing yards per carry. That's really good. That means and the Ravens, they can't run the ball either. They're 31st in rushing this year. So that means Flacco's going to be throwing the ball a ton, and that's never a good thing. Give me the Saints. It's just too obvious. And here's an amazing stat. The Ravens this year, we think of the Ravens, you always think of defensive touchdowns and special teams touchdowns. Guess how many they have this year?
100.
0. None.
I don't actually think of that, though.
I think of Ravens getting pick sixes, punt returns.
Well, that was kind of to the point I made. 6 takeaways, which is just, it seems low.
Yeah, it is. I think their numbers are inflated because of going up against those teams you were talking about, just garbage teams.
And it's just,
Browns,
what happened to the
Bills, and Titans.
Last week, that's a mess. Their running backs, too, they didn't force a single missed tackle last week. I don't think that happens this week against the running back tandem in New Orleans.
Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to take the Ravens anyway, though, because I like the defense. Get the number 1 scoring offense or number 1 scoring defense. Typically, I feel like the defense wins out on that. I also like how Baltimore's getting it done on 1st and 2nd down. They're allowing the 8th most 3rd down attempts per game. It means they get stops on 1st and 2nd down, put teams in bad positions. They also have the number 2 3rd down defense in the entire league. New Orleans, for what it's worth, has the 12th best 3rd down offense. Baltimore also been good on 3rd down offense itself, number 3 in the league. They've been great in the red zone. They're 4th offensively, 5th defensively. I also thought this was interesting. Not counting the year he was suspended, Sean Payton is 6-2 straight up after a bye. Okay, 6-2 straight up. In the wins, they're averaging 43 points per game. That's a lot. They blow doors out of byes. All 4 of those games at home. Won them all. On the road, 15 points per game. Lost both of them. So I like that. There's a nice little trend there for me. So I don't know. I also ran the numbers, put it in my little computer. Came out Baltimore. I also like the Ravens.
I just picture it coming out in physical form too.
Yeah, it's like the perforated paper too. Yeah,
the CVS receipt too just comes out.
I'm just sitting there with those my glasses at the end of my nose. Baltimore,
just bringing up the paper with your arms, there's still more coming.
The Ravens playing their first home game since September 23rd. 3 straight road games, getting home. I think they'll feel good. And maybe it's just a old habit dying hard. But again, if New Orleans, I'm a little skeptical of them going outside, especially if it's going to be windy.
Ravens only
Mark
team,
Ingram factor. Don't forget him.
Only team Drew Brees hasn't beaten.
Wow.
Ravens.
Oh, that's.
It's beaten every other team at least twice.
Well, the Ravens now are not going to let that happen.
So
they're going to put that on the bulletin board.
I think this is just an exclamation point on his
so
career.
if Drew Brees wins this, is it going to be a huge...
It's the GOAT, right? This is the determining factor.
They're going to give him a laminated certificate after the game.
Against an AFC North opponent? Yeah. Give me a break. Wow.
Do you guys think Drew Brees is ready for some AFC North football?
Oh, he's not about that life. No way. All right.
What a clash in styles. Love it.
Locks and upsets. Andre, what's your lock?
My lock of the week.
Ricky will skip
This
you.
is where I really show off.
Oh, yeah.
Ricky, you should just flip your locks and your upsets. You'd be undefeated.
My lock of the week, I was having I don't like to use Twitter often, but this week I was talking with Patriots correspondent and Sports Exchange and Maven, William Benditson on Twitter, talking about the LA Chargers. And he doesn't think they're one of the best teams in football, and I was telling him that they are. They're number 2 in yards per play differential. They're going up against the Titans, who we just spent 15 minutes saying bad things about. Chargers also protect the quarterback well, 8 sacks allowed. Phillip Rivers, 15th in the NFL in pass attempts. That means he's getting a lot of help from his running game. Just a completely balanced team. I think the Chargers are the best team in the AFC because of how balanced they are at every position. You talk about the Patriots and Chiefs. Their offenses are great. They're going to outscore everyone, but their defenses are questionable. The Chargers, just balanced, and they're getting Joey Bosa back soon. Week 7. This is week 7. Is he playing this week?
A revelation. I like the Chiefs. 6-point
at
favorites
least week
over the
9.
Bengals.
Week 9.
That is my lock to fade this week.
What did you say? Bengals versus Chiefs?
Chiefs 6-point favorites over the Bengals at home. They're going to bounce back after the loss to New England. Bengals, one thing that reared its ugly head against the Steelers was their tackling. That was problematic. That'll be even more problematic against the Chiefs' offense.
I did not see that coming.
I like that analysis.
Yeah, it's just, they're also banged up. I think they lost 3 defensive starters in that game, which goes back to AFC North football as advertised. Chiefs 6-0 against the spread too. It's obviously a lot of that is blowing doors early in the year, but covering the 3.5-point spread this week, so I like them to.
At some point, we're gonna have to turn on that and start fading them every week, but it's hard to do right now. Also, Cincinnati on primetime. I know that's a terrible.
0-5 straight up on Sunday night since drafting Andy Dalton in 2011.
Why have
they've lost those games by more than 11 points per game.
Why have they played 5 Sunday night games?
So
it's unbelievable.
Once per year.
What?
It's 2011. That's
it's stupid. I don't want to watch the Bengals.
Yeah, but sometimes they're paired up against
Sunday night
Ravens
or NFC.
Bengals should be a perennial Thursday night contender.
That's true.
Just stick them on Thursday.
Speaking of Thursday night contenders, my lock is the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's 5-point favorites over Houston. Jacksonville, not a good look last week for them. I think they bounced back. I think it's a more favorable matchup for them than it's just like I told you guys last week that Cowboys matchup wasn't a great matchup for them. I didn't expect them to get their heads knocked in, but still, Houston absolutely terrible in the red zone this year, the 31st. Deshaun Watson, 38% completion percentage, been sacked 7 times in the red zone. That's not good going up against Jacksonville, which has the 3rd best home red zone defense. I also thought this was interesting. Deshaun Watson, I was looking up his splits. He's thrown like 5 picks on plus side of the field this year. So when they cross, he gets worse, dramatically worse when they cross the 50-yard line. That's a weird stat.
Jaguars much better at home too. Bortles, especially.
Houston just, man. What is their record? Aren't they
3-3?
Yeah, it's
3-3 in that division.
Smoke and mirrors.
Except for
Unbelievable.
the Colts. I think the Colts might be the best team in that division, but they're 1-5.
That team is so very much in the mix. Well, if the Colts could ever get healthy, maybe, but it's just been an issue for them. So I like that Colts team. I think they're going the right direction.
Yeah, the right direction.
I think we all agreed before the season that division was a lot better than it has been in years past. And now I'm
so bad.
Now after 6 weeks, no, it isn't.
Literally every team in that division has a negative point differential.
Everybody's underachieved too. Yeah. I mean, you could point to probably 3 candidates in that division to take the next step this year, and none of them have done.
Yep, true. That's what we all get. So all right, let's do upsides. Ricky.
I'll take the Browns getting 3 points over the Bucks because why not? Bucks just fired their defensive coordinator. It's been $88 million in cap space on their defense, 6th most in the NFL, and it results in them firing their defensive coordinator. 3-game losing streak. Bucks also haven't been great when favored by 3 or more points under Jameis Winston, 1-5 against the spread. So I like the Browns to hang close in this one because, why not?
I'm going to take Dallas, 1.5-point underdogs against the Washington Redskins.
It's on the limb there.
Dak, what'd you say?
Way to go out on a limb on that one.
Oh, yeah,
We did the same thing last couple
cheating.
weeks.
Yeah. It's only 1.5 points. Dak Prescott undefeated in his career against Washington. 4-0, 65%, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Zeke averaging 4.5 yards per carry in his career against Washington with 5 touchdowns. Remember a few weeks ago we said Washington was like top 3 in yards per play differential? You know where they're at now? They're 22nd. Yeah, negative 2 yards per play differential in the last 2 weeks, and somehow they won one of those games.
Carolina.
Cowboys.
Jesus, what a bad loss.
21st, sorry, Washington's 21st.
I feel like you can never feel good about a loss to the Redskins.
Dude.
I mean, it's just a tough team to come away from. Be like, they
I like Alex Smith, though.
It's weird, though, when they look good, the Packers went in there and got their doors blown off by him. And, it looked, oh, this makes sense.
They're pretty stable defensively. And, if they're, their offense is, there's just not enough playmakers on their offense. They're fine. They're fine offensively. But it's...
that Paul Richardson doesn't do much for me.
Yeah.
Peterson will show, glimpses of it, but whatever. All right, for my upset, I'm going to take the Giants on Monday Night Football over the Atlanta Falcons. This game in Atlanta, I don't care. One trend I like, the Giants 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 following Thursday Night Football, so they got that little extra rest there. Let's see here. Saquon Barkley, he's a freak. We've talked ad nauseum about Atlanta's issues with the defense. That's not getting any better. Injuries aren't getting any better. They've lost Devontae Freeman, who just went on IR Tuesday. Also banged up is Calvin Ridley. He's dealing with an ankle injury. Mohamed Sanu's got a hip injury. And I like this. The offensive line's been a huge issue for the Giants this season, but the Falcons haven't generated much of a pass rush. They're not going to continue to generate much of a pass rush without their best defensive players. You keep Eli Manning clean. He's 105 passer rating. He's under pressure. He's got a 55.6 passer rating. So if they keep him clean, they allow him to kind of scan the field, I think they'll have a little bit of a bounce-back game offensively. And again, I know I talked about this earlier with fantasy points, but Atlanta giving up 24.2 fantasy points per game to running backs. That's the 5th worst. This looks like a huge game for Saquon Barkley. Could be a coming-out game. This is like that game where we all look back on and be like, remember that time?
You're never going to forget this.
Remember that time Saquon Barkley had 285 all-purpose yards and Booker McFarland, fell out of his chair because he was orgasming over it, or some weird thing happened, or Joe Tessitore said some ridiculous thing. By the way, before we get out of here, the Packers played on Monday.
McFarland orgasms was something I did not think we would talk about on the Week 7 edition of this.
Monday Night Football. That was the first time this week I really watched it, like a full Monday Night Football broadcast, because the Packers were playing. Holy moly! Jason Witten said, "What did he say? What the hell? I'm gonna look it up."
Until you look that up.
What a bad broadcast it is.
What was I going to say?
Just...
Yesterday, Monday night, the ESPN app is very misleading. They're misleading the general public. I was looking at some of the lines on the ESPN app, and the Rams 49ers had the Rams listed as a 1-point underdog against the 49ers for next week.
Yeah.
And
try to find that somewhere to
did Jared Goff get hurt? Did Todd Gurley out for the season? What's going on? They had just made a mistake. They're actually 10-point favorites. I don't know how the hell they messed that up.
I made a mistake or two in my time, so I'm not going to get on him too much. Jason Witten said Aaron Rodgers pulled a rabbit out of his head after that late touchdown, which was awesome. You got Booker McFarland in a dumbass cart that he's going down the field. Imagine shelling out $500, sit in the 4th. I almost swore. Sit in the 4th row, the 50-yard line for Packers, 49ers Monday Night Football. Imagine you bought that 3 months ago and you thought Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be playing. You're all excited to see this, and you show up and you got to watch this game on a friggin' TV plastered to this guy's back so he can be on his little cart that goes down the sideline. I'd be so pissed off. There should be a class action lawsuit against ESPN for putting that stupid ass thing. So this is, it's so dumb.
Can I ask you something as you're a Packers fan? What do fans do in these late Monday night games? The game ends at 12. I'm assuming most of the people live in Milwaukee or in that area, 2 hours away. Do they all get home at 3 or 4 in the morning?
What are you talking about?
At a Packers game.
Oh, Green Bay's not that far away from Milwaukee.
I think it's a couple hours.
Also, you have to
It's not like Foxborough.
It's an hour time difference, too, so it's not as bad.
That's true. But still, it's pretty
Big night in Wisconsin on Monday night. You get the Brewers You're celebrating here with your Milwaukee,
Milwaukee.
Wisconsin.
Thank God.
Sweatshirt.
PK
Brewers.
PK Hernandez very unhappy with the Dodger
Yeah.
Stadium faithful. Not the only time they made noise was to boo Yasmani Grandal. That was great. Out of all the players, Yasmani Grandal.
All right. Let's get
Oh,
out
what
of
a great time! Sports are everywhere.
here. This is a good
NBA season today.
Yeah, who cares?
I
That's
don't
it
either.
for the spread. We'll be back next week. We'll do more football picks and stuff. Then we'll see you then. Bye.